Hi everyone, this is our very first set of notes. So I'm going to walk you through a little bit of how this works before we get started. But you should have a spiral just for math class where you keep everything related to our class in there. So your algebra spiral will be for notes, scratch work, homework, things like that. Each day there will always be a title. So for today, your title is Integer Operations and Distribution Review. So I would put that at the top of your page. And then pretty much anything on the screen you should write. Anything I write, you should write. So I would actually, if I were you, take a minute and pause. I do expect you to have to pause. I know that you're not going to be able to keep up with me the first time, but the beauty of a video is that you can pause it and take more time when you need to. And if you want to go a little bit quicker, you don't have to wait on others to finish writing because you're doing it at your own pace. So go ahead and pause and get this slide written down. And then when you're ready, unpause and we'll talk about it. So this is integer operations. This section of notes, integer operations and distribution review, just like the title says, should be a review for you. I do expect you to have seen this before and be pretty good at doing it. But if you're not, we're taking a couple days here to review because they're skills you're going to need for everything else we do. They're foundational skills. So operations, integers are positive and negative numbers. Operations are addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Okay, so in integer operations, if you're doing addition, if they have the same sign, like they're both positive, you add them like normal. If they have different signs, or even if they're both negative, you'd add them like normal. If they have different signs, you're going to take the difference instead. So if you have one positive and one negative, you take the difference and keep the sign of the bigger. Subtraction is easiest to think of if you add the opposite. And I will get back into these rules when we start doing some examples. They'll make some more sense in context. Multiplication and division. Two negatives always make a positive, and one of each, meaning one positive and one negative number, multiplied or divided together, is going to have a negative solution. All right, so let's get into some examples here. -2 plus -3. We're doing addition, and they have the same sign, so we're going to sum. We're going to add them together like normal. So 2 plus 3 is 5. Since they're both negative, it's still negative. Okay, so that's your same sign sum. Here, 12 plus -3. Those are different signs. You have a positive and a negative. So you're going to take the difference, which is subtract. 12 minus 3 is 9. You use the sign of the bigger. The bigger is positive. The bigger is positive, so our solution is positive. -5 plus 7. They are different signs, so you're taking the difference. 7 minus 5 is 2. The bigger is positive, so our solution is positive. -7 plus -1, these are the same sign, so you add. 7 and 1 is 8. It will be negative because these are both negative. So there's our addition rules in practice here. Same sign, sum, and different signs, difference. Okay. If you are ever unsure, you can always double check yourself with a calculator, and that works as well. But again, hopefully these are skills you have because you need them. They're foundational for what we're going to do this year. All right, subtraction. It is often helpful for students to add the opposite to see what they're really dealing with. So this, I'm actually going to write it underneath. These two statements, -3 minus 4 and -3 plus -4, are the same. I'm not going to require you to add the opposite, but if it helps you, by all means do it. I tell my students a lot that this minus is glued to the number behind it. So if you can tell it's a -4 without doing add the opposite, that's fine too. But you have to be able to take either of these statements and get the correct answer. So -3 minus 4 is the same as -3 plus -4. They have the same sign, so you sum, add. So your solution is -7. If you can see that these are two negatives, so you should add without doing this step, totally fine, more power to you. 4 minus -7. So when you are subtracting a negative, that is the same as adding a positive. Add the opposite. So here, or you can also think of this as 2 negatives make a positive here. Okay, if that helps you too. But these 4 plus 7 is 11. Hopefully you know that. So really the trick here is knowing you're adding the opposite or 2 negatives make a positive, whatever works for you there. Same type of problem, -2 plus or minus -6 is the same as -2 plus +6, or if you want to, 2 negatives make a positive here. These are different signs, so you take the difference. The difference is 4. The bigger is positive, so it is +4. All right, we can add the opposite. So we're adding a -2, or if you can see that they're both negative without doing that, that's fine too. But you have the same sign, which means you sum. -12 would be our solution here. Multiplication and division. So here, if you have 2 negatives, they're positive. 2 positives, they're positive. One of each, a positive and a negative, would be negative. So I like to show students this little triangle here. Oh, a little slow. I like to show them this triangle here. This, if you have 2 negatives, your solution is positive. If you have a positive and a negative, your solution is negative. So sometimes that helps kids. But if you have 2 of the same sign, your solution is positive. 1 of each, it's negative. Okay, so a negative times a negative is a positive. 2 times 15 is 30. One of each, one positive and one negative, gives us a negative solution. 5 times 4 is 20. 100 divided by -5. This slash is also division. If it was a fraction like 100 over -5, that's also division. But 100 divided by -5, we have 1 of each, so our solution is negative. 100 divided by 5 is 20. -30 divided by -6, I have 2 negatives, so my solution is positive. 30 divided by 6 is 5. Okay, again, hopefully that's a review for you. If not, that's okay. We just need to get it taken care of now before we move on. Distribution, and this is also a review skill from you from 7th grade. Distribution means that we take an expression like this and we distribute the A so that we can rewrite it or simplify it. It's going to help us when we're solving and simplifying things. So this is the distributive property, and I always like to draw in these arrows, and these arrows means we're multiplying. So this would be A times B plus A times C. It's another way to write it. So here, I'm going to distribute my 5. 5 times x is 5x. 5 times 3 is 15. Okay, it's a positive 15, so it's a plus. If it was a negative 15, it'd be a minus. Or you can always do plus -15, because as we've discussed, adding the opposite or just having a minus are the same. So here I'm going to distribute my -3. And again, I want to stress to you that this is a -5. Okay, so if you want to do plus -5, go for it. But you do need to be able, one way or another, to recognize that that's a -5. So here, -3 times 2x is -6x. -3 times -5 is a positive 15. Okay, that's very careful. You have to pay attention to detail and be careful there. Negative times 2x minus 1. If you do not see a number, there is an invisible 1 there. Okay, this is a -1. So I'm going to draw in my arrows here. And again, I need you to be able to recognize that this is also a -1. So -1 times 2x is -2x. -1 times -1 is +1. Okay. Again, we're going to distribute. And this would also be a negative 1. If there's not a number here, there's a invisible 1. So negative 2 times negative 1 is positive 2. So positive 2x. Negative 2 times positive 4 is a negative 8. So you can write this with just a minus 8 or plus negative 8. Those are equivalent expressions. I like to write this first one because I think it's less cluttered, but both are totally okay. Okay, so just FYI. So this is the end of your notes. And that's it for today. We will do a review assignment over this in class tomorrow. So I'll see you guys tomorrow.